childhood, curiosity, and the first steps of a genius.
Do you really believe I was born a genius, that since childhood I knew I would change the history of science? Perhaps that is the greatest illusion people have about me. My name is Albert Einstein, and today I will reveal my story as it truly happened. Can you imagine that when I was little, I could hardly speak properly and that many thought I had some kind of mental problem? It's true, I only began to speak fluently around the age of 4, and this made my parents and teachers worried. But behind that silence, there was a mind in turmoil. I was born on March 14, 1879, in the small town of Ulm, Germany. My parents, Hermann and Pauline, were neither wealthy nor scientists. My father owned a small electricity company, and my mother was passionate about music. Perhaps it was from her that I inherited the sensitivity to observe the world in a different way. When I got my first violin, I discovered that music could calm my thoughts and even help me reason better. But there was something even more remarkable about my childhood. At the age of 5, my father showed me a compass. It seems simple, doesn't it? For me, it was a revelation. I couldn't accept that the needle moved on its own, as if obeying an invisible force. That was the moment when my obsession was born, to understand what cannot be seen but governs everything. At school, however, the story was very different. Many teachers saw me as lazy and rebellious simply because I refused to memorize formulas without understanding them. I questioned too much, and that irritated the masters. One of them even told me I would never amount to anything. Would you believe that the man who said that to me never imagined that, decades later, I would become a symbol of intelligence? Life has its ironies. This first stage of my life was marked by doubts, silences, and discoveries. No prodigy genius, no revolutionary formulas yet. Just a curious, questioning boy who, above all, refused to accept ready-made answers. That was how the journey of Albert Einstein began, a journey that would forever change the way humanity sees the universe.
Studies, difficulties, and the search for freedom.
Do you believe that, to become one of the greatest scientists in history, I first had to face rejection from school itself? Many people think I was always the perfect student, but the truth is far from that. I never fit into the rigid educational system of late 19th century Germany. Classrooms were true barracks with authoritarian teachers demanding blind obedience. But I wouldn't accept learning without questioning. To them, I was just a problematic, insolent student. To me, I just wanted to understand the why of things. At 15, the situation became unbearable. I could no longer stand that suffocating environment, and I ended up dropping out of school in Munich. Many saw me as a failure, someone with no future. But that was when I took one of the most important steps of my life. I decided to seek an education that would give me the freedom to think. I went to Switzerland, where I found a more open system that allowed me to explore mathematics and physics more creatively. At the Polytechnic School of Zurich, I faced new challenges. I wasn't the most applied student in all subjects, but when it came to theoretical physics and mathematics, my passion turned into absolute dedication. Still, the path wasn't easy. My rebelliousness closed doors, including with some professors who didn't accept my questioning nature. So much so that, after graduating, I had enormous difficulty finding a job as a teacher. Imagine that. Albert Einstein, unemployed and ignored by universities. It was during this period that I met one of the great loves of my life, Mileva Merrick, a brilliant classmate passionate about science. Together, we discussed theories, challenged established ideas, and dreamed of changing the world. But life was not just about romance and discoveries. I needed to support our family, and without academic opportunities, I accepted a job at the patent office in Bern. Can you imagine, while the world ignored me, I spent my days analyzing trivial inventions such as electrical and mechanical devices. But amid piles of documents, my mind wandered toward the universe, time, and space. It was there, in a job many would consider tedious, that my greatest ideas began to emerge. What seemed like a detour was, in fact, fertile ground for me to reflect without academic pressure. I was about to give the world something no one expected, a revolution in the understanding of physics.
The miracle year.
Have you ever heard of Annus Mirabilis? In Latin, it means miracle year. For me, that year was 1905. I was still working at the patent office in Bern, far from academic life, but with my mind overflowing with ideas. While reviewing other people's inventions, I spent sleepless nights writing scientific articles that would forever change the understanding of the universe. In just 1 year, I published 4 revolutionary papers in the journal Annalen der Physik. The first dealt with Brownian motion, explaining how microscopic particles in suspension confirmed the existence of atoms, something still contested by many scientists. The second paper was about the photoelectric effect, showing that light could behave like particles, photons. This discovery was so important that years later it earned me the Nobel Prize in Physics. The third paper, on special relativity, was the one that truly changed the course of science. In it, I stated that space and time were not absolute, but relative to the observer. The idea seemed absurd to many, but it opened the doors to a new way of understanding reality. And finally, I presented the famous equation E = mc, showing that energy and mass are equivalent, 2 sides of the same coin. A formula so simple, yet so powerful, that it would influence everything from energy generation to the creation of the most devastating weapons ever seen. Can you imagine the impact? I was just a young office worker without a prestigious academic title, but in a matter of months my theories shook the very foundations of traditional physics. Many colleagues resisted, thinking my ideas were too bold. Others, however, recognized that something extraordinary was happening. This period was also marked by intense personal challenges. I was already married to Mileva, and we had 2 children, Hans Albert and Edward. Balancing family life with my long hours of reflection wasn't easy. Many times I isolated myself in thought, distant even from those I loved. My creative genius came at a high price. But nothing could stop the feeling that I was unraveling the secrets of the universe. Each formula, each calculation seemed to open a window to a new dimension of understanding. I felt that my life had finally found its purpose. The year 1905 not only changed science, it also changed how the world saw me. From a forgotten patent office clerk, I became recognized as one of the greatest thinkers of my generation. And although I still faced resistance, a new door was opening, my definitive entry into the global academic and scientific universe.
Fame and worldwide recognition.
After the miracle year of 1905, my life was never the same again. Little by little, my ideas stopped being seen as the daydreams of a clerk and began to gain ground in academia. I accepted positions at universities, first in Zurich, then in Prague, and eventually back in Zurich as a professor. In 1914, I was called to Berlin, the heart of European science, to join the Prussian Academy of Sciences. It was official recognition that my theories could no longer be ignored. But fame didn't come immediately. For years, many scientists viewed my theories with suspicion. Relativity was so counterintuitive, so far from common sense, that it seemed more philosophy than science. However, in 1919, everything changed. During a solar eclipse, British astronomer Arthur Eddington confirmed one of the predictions of my general theory of relativity. Starlight bent as it passed near the sun, proving that even light was affected by gravity. When newspapers reported the news, my name spread across the world. Imagine a man with disheveled hair, simple clothes, and a distracted look suddenly being called a genius, appearing on magazine covers, and being the subject of cafe and university conversations. My image defied the stereotype of the austere scientist. I was eccentric, irreverent, sometimes even playful. Perhaps that's why ordinary people related to me. With fame came responsibility. Suddenly, my words carried weight, not only in physics but also in politics, philosophy, and society. I became a voice heard in many areas, but this also drew criticism. Some colleagues considered me vain, others thought I sought the spotlight. The truth is, I never sought fame, it simply found me. My personal life, however, didn't follow the same rhythm. My marriage to Mileva fell into crisis, marked by arguments and distance. In 1919, we officially separated. Shortly after, I married my cousin Elsa, who brought stability and affection during a period of my life when I was already under constant pressure. The following years were marked by intense scientific production and also by travel. I was received as a celebrity in various parts of the world. In the United States, crowds gathered just to hear me talk about the universe. In Japan, I was treated like a true star with grand receptions. It was strange for me, a man who only wanted to understand the laws of nature, to be placed on a pedestal. But perhaps the most striking thing was realizing how my theories had changed humanity's view of itself. We were no longer passive spectators of a static universe. Space, time, and even gravity had become malleable, dynamic, full of possibilities. It was then that I understood something important. My work had gone beyond science. It had become part of human culture, inspiring artists, writers, and dreamers. And deep down, that may have been the greatest achievement of all.